All right. Should we begin? So it's been 3 weeks, so it could be 300 years since our last class. So we're going to start with a review, of course. So for those who have the book, please open to page 128. If you like to look in, rather than just hear me read with my melodious voice. Okay, so we're going to start with the second paragraph on page 128 here at 8:31. Hey, and it's Rosh Chodesh, so we have to make a l'chaim. Good Chodesh, Chodesh Tov. It should be a Chodesh of healing and good news and good things for all Am Yisrael. A year is a good month for healing. Hashem says, Ni Hashem Rofecha. Okay, so page 128 here in Rav Yitzchak's book, and he should have a refuah shalema. Yitzchak 5ish ben Brian and Malka should have a refuah shalema, go from strength to strength. We need him. Okay, so we're starting with the second paragraph. Rabbi Shneir Zalman, the Alter Rebbe, our guy, advises aspiring Beinanim to ignore their anxieties. So we spoke about what this means. I mean, before reading the rest of the book, it would be hard to know what it means. But it means to make them smaller, like just to know that that's possible. So exciting. Next time we're feeling anxious, just make it visualize it getting a little smaller. And then there's room to step outside and study it. So that's what's called ignoring our anxieties. Our ongoing battle is to distinguish between good and evil at deeper and deeper levels of our psyche and identify with the good. Now, that's an interesting idea. That's a good thing to teach children, right? Identify with the good. While fully recognizing our inner evil and feeling attacked by it from time to time. I put a little smiling face there last night. The idea of our inner evil attacking us from time to time. I don't know. I do have a strange sense of humor. One can weep and cry about that inner evil attacking us. We push away the evil by ignoring it and drawing near good by filling the soul's 3 modes of expression, thought, speech, and deed, solely with good. So we have to understand that we are being empowered learning this book. Right now we're learning quotes from the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov is empowering us, the Alter Rebbe is empowering us, Rabbi Yitzchak is empowering us. We're empowering each other, that we can ignore a thought, an evil thought arises in our mind. We have the ability to ignore it. We don't have to follow it. We're being empowered to ignore it. We might have thought in the past that we couldn't ignore it. So it's so liberating to know that we're being empowered by holy people and by each other, our Farbrengen right now, to ignore it. And we're being empowered, thought, speech, and deed. Let's do good things with our thought, speech, and deed. Okay, inasmuch as we have not entirely overcome our ego-based urges and extricated ourselves from our desire to indulge in the forbidden. I mean, we still, have you noticed? How do I laugh at these things? We still sometimes have a desire to indulge in the forbidden. It comes up for us poor, struggling Beinanim. We have a desire. So we might not be ready to face our darker side with the conscious intention of transforming darkness into light. And it says about the Beinanim, it could always be a struggle. Maybe we'll never reach the level of being tzaddikim. Still, by ignoring our anxieties, actively filling our mind with wholesome thoughts, like right now, we're filling our mind with wholesome thoughts, and speaking and acting out of loving kindness, we will eventually neutralize any harmful aspects of our subconscious and ensure that our faculties of thought, word, and deed remain pure and potent in our positive effect on reality. This in general is the work of separation. So I really like those words, our positive effect on reality. Like, it's a good thing to grow up with. I wish I had heard it as a child, that, you know, we're here to have a positive effect on reality, in case we were wondering why we're here. It's to have a positive effect on reality. Doesn't everyone feel better just hearing that? Absolutely. Life is filled with meaning. Rabbi Eli Melech, so we're talking here, of course, about Rabbi Melech of Lezhinsk. He encourages his disciples to articulate their anxieties in order to sweeten them. In other words, it's good to have a friend to talk about our anxieties. He details how the role of the tzaddik, having overcome and uprooted his urge to do evil, is to sweeten the evil in those who seek his counsel and transform it into good. That's why people are attracted to Rebbeim and holy people, because they can help us uproot our urge to do evil. What a great bracha. It's what we're looking for. This is particularly true of the tzaddik who assumes the mantle of leadership as a rebbe. The complete transformation of evil into good in the hands of the consummate Hasidic master is the fullest expression of the vision of the Baal Shem Tov. So we're going to be looking at a few footnotes here. So if you have the book, you might want to stick a bookmark in, where the footnotes are on 176, 177. So turn to that page if you have the book. Now you're holding 2 pages open at once. It's a little tricky. So footnote 14. In his letter to his brother-in-law mentioned above, the Baal Shem Tov relates how Mashiach told him that he will come only when the Baal Shem Tov succeeds in inspiring others to reach his level, and they can sweeten the bitter through holy intentions on divine names. Thus, the ultimate vision of the Baal Shem Tov is that as many people as possible reach the level of tzaddik and become able to sweeten the bitter. It's such a beautiful idea, using the bitter, this is an idea that we come back to all the time, using what embitters our life as a catalyst for growth. I mean, this is really Hasidus. This is what it's all about. Right, okay, back to bottom of 128. In the teachings of this stream of Hasidus, the more people recognize and appreciate the exalted spiritual stature of the tzaddik, the more they will be devoted to him. We saw this with the Rebbe and also with Rabbi Yitzchak. They do not need to confront their inner evil alone, for the holiness of the tzaddik envelops them and neutralizes their darker side, enabling them to establish a true and profound connection to Hashem. And when I was preparing last night, these words, a true and profound connection to Hashem, that's what we want, right? I mean, that's why we're learning this. Why not have a true this lifetime? Here we are. We want a true and profound connection to Hashem. In Noam Elimelech, the book of Rav Melech, Rabbi Elimelech guides Hasidic masters and those who follow and emulate them in the ultimate hope of joining their rank. So it's a guide for Tzaddikim, and I have footnote 15 and 16 circled back too. So 15 is just saying the Chabad approach requires that people work on themselves. So yes, okay, so we're gonna do that. And 16, we see that in contrast to the other streams of Hasidus, the school of Rabbi Elimelech, many disciples came to the Rebbe with the tacit understanding that they would one day assume the mantle of leadership themselves. Indeed, the court of Rabbi Elimelech and that of his disciple, Rabbi Yaakov Yitzchak, the seer of Lublin, the Chayzer of Lublin, branched out to become hundreds of Hasidic dynasties, the majority of which in turn continued to branch out, leading to the proliferation of Hasidic dynasties that have developed over time. But this idea is the Rebbe wanted us all to be a leader in our corner of the world. The Rebbe would speak about this at Farbrengens for Women, that nobody like us knows the needs of our little corner of the world. We know what our little corner of the world needs. And we need to be a leader in our corner of the world. And we're being empowered. We have to remember that everything we're learning here is an empowerment. So we're going to have to be leaders. The Rebbe wanted to create leaders and not followers. That was a really basic idea of the Rebbe. You have to be leaders. Okay, so to use the imagery of war and peace, the life task of the Rasha is to enlist in the army of Hashem, Sivos Hashem, The life task of the Beinoni is to wage the wars of Hashem. The life task of the tzaddik, who comes from a place of inner peace, is to peacefully achieve divine victory and bring peace to the world. Now, this peace of mind, menuchas hanefesh, is something that people ask a Rebbe for a bracha for, peace of mind. I mean, when I was growing up, I wouldn't have even known what that meant. It was beyond my childhood. No one mentioned anything about peace of mind. They didn't speak about that at TS 161. No one mentioned it. But it's something very important. And the footnote here is actually referring to the idea when the Alter Rebbe was freed from prison in 1798. It was while he was saying in Tehillim, the 55th kapitel, the 19th line, Pada v'shalom nafshi, my soul was redeemed in peace. And I understood this for the first time, that this is talking, when we say this line, we sing this, it's a famous niggin, it's always sung on Yutes Kislev and other times. Pada v'shalom nafshi is we're asking for peace of mind. It's the peace, my soul is redeemed in peace. It's peace of mind is something, renuchas hanefesh, something we should ask Hashem for, something we should ask the Rebbe for. It's a good thing to ask for a bracha for it. Okay, now we're up to subtitle Maturation in Therapy. We can view the three major streams of Chassidus as stages in our ongoing maturing therapy or spiritual development, which are additionally reflected in the successive stages of our lives. So we're talking about spiritual development, maturation. The approach of Breslov is the underlying bedrock of spiritual life. The type of advice we find in Rabbi Nachman's teaching is particularly suited to the, in quotes, adolescent stage of spiritual life, when we are concerned with consolidating our own sense of identity. And here I also have a little smiling face. Consolidating our own sense of identity. We need to do that, and we need to pick good things. We have to pick the good things about ourselves, you know, like it's never too late to consolidate our sense of identity. Wait, footnote 18. Okay, now on page 177, in case you lost the place. This is why this branch of Chassidus places great emphasis on rectifying the sins of youth, i.e. sexual sins. Rabbi Nachman's specific remedy for this all-inclusive sin, his tikkun haklali, literally the general rectification, consists of saying 10 designated Psalms Tehillim, corresponding to the 10 expressions of song used in the book of Psalms and Tehillim. As we noted above, the stage of spiritual growth expressed by reciting Tehillim is sweetening within submission. I mean, it's a beautiful idea that we're sweetening reality. When we say Tehillim, we're sweetening reality. You know, when I was today, since I prepared this last night, today when I was saying Tehillim, I really felt it's just a beautiful kavanah while reading Tehillim. I want to sweeten reality. And this approach of people wanting a tikkun for sexual sins, the Rebbe Rashab, the fifth Lubavitch Rebbe said, learning Chassidus also has this effect. So the sweetening of sexual sins can be through Rabbi Nachman saying Tehillim, learning Chassidus, just wanting to do tshuva is always a good thing. When we find ourselves tossed by the tempest of our own turbulent emotional development, that's very poetic, tossed by the tempest of our own turbulent emotional development, it does happen. We need most to hear that Hashem loves us and is there with us, even in the depths to which we occasionally fall. So let's go over this carefully. Because if we didn't learn it as a child, we have to learn it now, that Hashem loves us and is there with us. And these words, even in the depths to which we occasionally fall, I found that really like inspiring me to do tshuva, because it is a shame having to bring, I'm laughing and crying, don't get me wrong. It is a shame having to bring down Hashem to the depths of where we occasionally fall, but he's with us. So this can inspire us to do tshuva. Like we're never alone. He's always with us. And we can always do tshuva. What a deal. We need most to remember how we enjoyed Hashem's protective presence before we descended into this world. So this is a meditation. We've spoken about this before. When we spoke about the Baal Shem Tov wanting people to remember their souls in heaven before the soul came down into this world. So when the soul was in heaven, we enjoyed Hashem's protective presence. Like it's a good meditation before davening. The soul before it came down, enjoying Hashem's protective presence. Yes, and Hashem's presence is still here with us. When our spiritual immaturity makes us reluctant to face our problems directly, we can be inspired by this memory, take refuge in Hashem, stand before Him in submission and hachna'ah, and pour out our souls to Him in heartfelt prayer. So let's look at these steps. So before davening, we can take refuge in Hashem. That's a good kavana. Stand before Him in hachna'ah, to humbly stand before Hashem. It seems like this is a very quick meditation before davening. We want to stand humbly before Hashem and pour out our souls to Him in heartfelt prayer. Let's do it. Could a few more people put their cameras on, please? I love the people that have their cameras on now. It adds a lot. I feel like there's real people here. Come on, don't be shy. You all look absolutely gorgeous and handsome and all of those good things. Come on. Oh, look, more people. Thank you. Okay. So, let us continue. This reliance on Hashem, on 130 for anyone who just joined, the second paragraph. This reliance on Hashem is our loving understanding, forgiving, again, this reliance on Hashem as our loving, understanding, forgiving parent expresses the intrinsic connection between His essence and ours. And the footnote here is mentioning that it's spoken about in chapter 44 in Tanya, which is coming up soon for those doing Tanya Chitas. Get ready. So thinking of Hashem as our loving, understanding, and forgiving parent, and that we have an essence connection with Hashem, essence to essence connection with Hashem. Isn't that beautiful? Although this connection may make us feel comfortable airing our conscious anxieties and converse freely with Hashem as with a loving mentor, our relatively immature understanding of ourselves prevents us from probing our deeper and more concealed levels of evil. They remain hidden in the unconscious, threatening to surface in the future. So now we're going to learn how to get down to those more concealed levels of evil that are waiting for us to get down to. That now we're getting up to Tanya. The spiritual system of the Tanya is suited to those of us who have matured into spiritual adulthood and are ready to know the full extent of our darker side, which is separation, without yet combating it directly. I mean, okay, we may as well know, why keep it down there longer? We may as well know our darker side. I mean, we all have a darker side, what to do, but we may as well get to know it, look it around, do a scientific study. Here's my darker side. Let's look at it. Okay, our intellectual detachment at this stage allows us to view evil in its proper perspective and referee a balanced and honest interplay between our higher aspirations arising from our divine soul and our human frailty arising from our animal soul. So this sentence definitely requires further analysis. Our intellectual detachment. In other words, there has to be a separation. We have to be able to look at ourselves from outside. We have to step outside and study, what are my thoughts? What are my feelings? I need to be honest with myself about it. So that's the intellectual detachment. We can view our evil in its proper perspective and referee a balanced and honest interplay between our divine soul and our animal soul. Isn't that a cute idea? I mean, it happens all the time that they have different opinions, right? Our divine soul has one kind of opinion, and our animal soul has another kind of opinion, and we're the referee. Yes, who should we root for? Okay, well, it takes intellect, it takes separation. This is the separation stage. Having matured sufficiently to recognize our unique purpose in life, we identify the evil within us as that which prevents us from fulfilling our mission. So we spoke about this idea many times, and on the next page, we even have it on a chart form. So one of the levels of evil, the highest really level, is the most subtle level, I should say, is what prevents us from fulfilling our shlichus. I mean, we all have a general shlichus of, what was having sweetening reality, having a positive effect on reality. But then we have an individual shlichus in our corner of the world, to be a leader in our corner of the world. Whatever that means, the people that we have contact with in all our life by hashgacha pratis, to reach out to them. I have a friend, Olivia Schwartz, who some of you might know, and she's an, oh look, there she is. She's waving. In case you were wondering who she is, she's that humble person there in the corner. No other people now are waving. Oh, that's good. Marion is waving. This is like really so much fun. See, it's much more fun with the cameras on. You have to admit. Then you can wave at your friends. All right. So she told me that she once called someone 78 times before they called her back. Now, I feel if I call someone 3 times, forget it. They didn't call me back. It's ping pong. They lose. I don't want to bother them, God forbid. But no, and now this woman has frum grandchildren because Olivia, she finally did call back after this 78th call. Now, so it's like we have a personal shlichus to reach out to people. And, so we have a general shlichus, and so the evil within us is it prevents us from filling our shlichus. It's like they didn't, so the evil in this situation would be my feeling. I called them 3 times and they didn't call me back. Okay. So it's very personal, this level of evil. Okay, although the evil is indeed within us, hindering our progress, we know that in truth it is not who we are. Now that's very important. That's very important in child raising and in raising ourselves. The evil within us is not who we really are. I like that idea. At this stage of spiritual maturity, it is paramount that we recall that our divine souls were given a holy task and an enemy to fight and subdue. So we all have that enemy to fight and subdue. The animal soul has strong opinions, and our souls were given a holy task, our personal mission. When we dissociate ourselves from our own evil, we can engage in a broad, deep intellectual analysis of all facets of our psyche and the role they play in our connection to Hashem. So again, this separation, we have to be able to look at ourselves objectively, to step out of who we think just to look at it. It's fascinating, isn't it? All facets of our psyche. This type of analysis has been developed most fully in the extensive literature of the Chabad tradition. This is Hasidus, Hasidus talks about these things and helps us do these things. Out of this honest recognition of our human capacities and their detailed intellectual analysis springs the potential for each of us to behave as a tzaddik of sorts, a tzaddik in the moment. Because all of these characters that the Alter Rebbe speaks about in Tanya, we've spoken about this many times, the 2 levels of Rishoyim, the 2 levels of Tzaddikim, the 3 levels of Beinanim, it's really all infinite levels. These are all stages of consciousness that we pass through during the day. They're not separate people. They're all talking about our different stages of consciousness. Our analysis enables us to see that all the shortcomings in the world, even those in ourselves, exist only for our elevation. Like all of the challenges in our life exist only for our elevation. This is Emunah and Betachon. All of the challenges in our life exist only for our elevation. We can become aware of the evil hidden away in our soul and reveal it to the objective other within ourselves, our higher self, the potential tzaddik within, or to our counselor. In this fashion, we find the way to rectify and elevate the evil and transform it into good. To use it as a catalyst for growth. We're really going to get back to this idea of this catalyst, the catalyst for growth, this idea of using all our life experiences as a catalyst for growth. Eventually, we are able to assume the role of the counselor for others and act as the fully mature and wise elder whose experience in life has granted us the insight of the sage. It's true, all of these experiences, have you noticed we've had a lot of experiences in life? We can extract wisdom, we can learn from all of these experiences. At this stage of spiritual development, we feel the divine power granted us when we were adjured to be righteous and not wicked. You know, the Tanya begins like this. The Alter Rebbe begins chapter 1 of Tanya, that the soul swears before it comes down into this world to be righteous and not wicked. And I've really been understanding it much more recently as an empowerment. We have to feel that we are empowered to make the right choices. It's not like we're not empowered. We are, and we're empowering each other right now at this Farbrengen, L'chaim, L'chaim. Yummy. Okay. So now we're getting the next paragraph. We've actually been learning this for almost a year. We've been learning this book for almost a year. We started during Svira last year, this wonderful Galei Nai weekly classes in English. We started learning this, and I've often quoted this next paragraph. So here we are actually here on page 131. We only have one more chapter. So let's see what this, I'm very excited here. We can now see how our concept of evil changes with our stage of spiritual maturity. So we're going to speak about 3 different levels of evil. At the first level, we see evil as whatever the Torah defines as wrongdoing and our inclination to do wrong. I don't know how I can laugh at this. The Torah says, what the Torah defines something as wrongdoing, and I want to do it. I find it so frustrating when that happens. I hope everyone is identifying with me. Torah says you can't do it, and I want to do it. I'm laughing and crying as usual at the same time. This is a level of evil. We can understand. This is the first level. It's not very sophisticated. It's easy to understand. Okay, now we're getting to more subtle levels. At the second level, evil becomes the psychological complexes that block us from fulfilling our purpose in life. Here's something totally personal, totally different from each of us. Psychological complexes. So that, I can blame not wanting to call the person for the 4th time on my psychological complexes. I mean, why it's just psychological? Like, isn't life ping pong? Don't they have to like me back right away for me to continue to like them? Psychological complexes keeping me from fulfilling our purpose in life. Totally personal, totally individual, but we can define them as evil, a more subtle level of evil. At the third level, now this is the most interesting, we identify evil as the traumas, trials, and tribulations of this lifetime and past lifetimes. Here, whatever is bitter is evil, and the very existence is meant to motivate us to sweeten it by transforming it into good. I mean, this is a fantastic sentence. Are the traumas of our life, of this lifetime, and even past lifetimes. So this is evil. Why? It's something that happened to us. We're defining it as evil because it embitters our life. We're defining as evil what embitters our life. Isn't that a good definition of evil? I mean, it's totally personal. It's not something that we did even. It could be something that happened to us, but it embitters our life. So its very existence is to motivate us to sweeten it by transforming it into good, by using it as a catalyst for growth. It's a tremendous idea. I mean, this is really deep Hasidus. This is what Hasidus is about. To use it, let me just say a few words about catalysts. If you happen to have studied biochemistry in college, you would learn that like enzymes are catalysts. They make a reaction go much faster. In other words, it would be like super hard um, to take water and carbon dioxide and make sugar and oxygen. Plants do it. You can't really do it in a laboratory, but they have enzymes, they have catalysts that make this reaction happen. Catalysts speed up reactions. So we can use what embitters our life as a catalyst for growth. This is such important information because it motivates, and it's true. That's like these things. Why are we spiritually searching? Why are we learning Yiddishkeit? Why are we learning Hasidus? Because it's these things that embittered our life that made us feel that we have to learn. There's something to learn. We have to learn. We have to search for the truth. What stifled our development earlier now spurs us on, and evil becomes the throne of good. This is what in Kesser Shem Tov, the writings, the teachings of the Baal Shem Tov, this idea is on a catalyst is what spurs us on. To use what embitters our life to spur us on to spiritual growth, to sweeten it. We want to sweeten what embitters our life. Just to know something like that is possible, because one could go one's whole life and not know that we can sweeten what embitters our life. It's such important information. Does everyone agree? Yes. See, look at all those green faces. Now, this chart is really quite nice. I've really grown quite fond of the charts because it is good to organize. So now we're going to the stages of spiritual development and our attitude towards evil. Let's go over this carefully. So again, it's always hachna'a, havdalah, hamtaka, the submission, separation, and sweetening, which is the basic teaching of the Baal Shem Tov, that spiritual growth are these three steps. So the hachna'a, the submission, is childhood and adolescence, and it's objective wrong. Evil is objective wrong. It's wrong to murder. It's wrong to commit adultery. It's we might want to murder someone. How can I laugh? And Esav wasn't the only one who wanted to murder his brother. Sometimes the thought, okay, but it's objective wrong. We hold ourselves back. So we might want to do it, but it's objective wrong. It's a simple level of evil. It's something it's not sophisticated. It's something we can understand. Right? Right. Then there's separation, Havdalah, which is adulthood. And those are the psychological complexes that block us from fulfilling our purpose in life, that block us from fulfilling our shlichus. We need to be aware of them. And then and then we could decide whether we're going to give in to them, whether we're going to push against them, whether we're going to talk about them with our best friend and mentor. But we want to at least be aware of them and maybe separate from them. And then the sweetening, full maturity, it's a challenge to be sweetened. Our attitude towards evil, it's a challenge to be sweetened. And again, when I feel this is an empowerment, it's so positive. Just that the challenges of our life are here to be sweetened. We all have challenges. We all have huge challenges. We all need the Geula Shalema. We need Mashiach to come. But to see all of those things, it's like such a turnaround. It's such like turning everything on its head, that all of these things, everything that embitters my life is here to be sweetened. So we can turn the page. And I just want to say again that it's Rosh Chodesh. Tonight is Rosh Chodesh. So some of you are in America. It's not quite tonight. Here in Eretz Yisrael, we've already started. It's a 2-day Rosh Chodesh Iyar. And again, and it's they say, the ER is Aleph Yud Yud Resh, and it's a ni. The Aleph is a ni I, and the two Yuds is Hashem's name, and Resh is Rofecha. I am Hashem who heals you. So really, we should bless each other with a refuah shalema for all of our personal boo-boos and ailments. L'chaim, l'chaim. And this month this whole month is the only month of the year where we're counting Sphira and working on all these different qualities each night. And tonight is going to be Chesed, Shevet Tiferes. It's the beginning of the week of Tiferes, of beauty, of Rachamim, of compassion, and artistic creativity. I saw Nir Manusi, who I think might have canceled his class for tonight. So yes, this is only me tonight, and Baruch Hashem, we have another few minutes to go. But next week, I think my fellow rabbis before and after me will be back. But this month he spoke about Tiferes being also our artistic. So I'm quoting him, even though he's not teaching tonight, I'm getting to quote him. He sends out something on the Sphira every night, which is very interesting. And he spoke about how Tiferes is artistic creativity, and the chesed of it is using it for good things. He said with modern art, art became separated from ethics in modern art. Ancient art, it was all religious art. But when it became separated from ethics, it wasn't to bring goodness and inspiration into the world necessarily, and our life is an art, and we want our art to be connected, the art of our life to be connected with righteousness and goodness. Anyway, highly recommend Nir's connecting with his WhatsApp of the day. And this month also has Pesach Sheni, that we all have a second chance. It's in the Yurtzeit of Rabbi Meir Baal Hanes. We'll speak about more that as it gets a little closer. And Lag BaOmer, the great day of celebration. So Baruch Hashem, we have some good days and good things, good learning to do. So we're turning to page 132. The apex of the arc. The middle of the 9 sub-stages of submission, separation, and sweetening is the 5th, separation within separation. So let me just explain what it's talking about. So we know there's hachna'a, havdalah, hamtaka, submission, separation, and sweetening, and they are all inter-inclusive. So each of the 3 have the 3 in them. So there's 9 altogether. And when you have 9 of something, 5 is the middle number. There, everyone can visualize 5 is the middle number. It has 4 numbers below it and 4 numbers above it. Okay, so the 5th is, the middle one is separation within separation. We identified this stage as self-redefinition. This is a review of what we learned. Self-redefinition. The renewal of divine consciousness at its source, and the technique we described to achieve this end was meditative prayer. So this is a wonderful idea, self-redefinition. And what we spoke about earlier tonight is something about our identity, consolidating our own sense of identity. And here we're talking about self-redefinition. So I think that's very hopeful. Although there's also something about being undefined. We say Hashem is undefined. Hashem can't be defined in words. So there's something to being undefined. But if we're going to define ourselves, let's redefine ourselves in a positive light. Why not? So separation within separation. This is self-redefinition, the renewal of divine consciousness at its source. The renewal of divine consciousness. That's what we want. That's why we're learning this, divine consciousness. Let's let Hashem into our consciousness. Remembering Hashem, just remembering Hashem itself is a renewal of divine consciousness. And meditative prayer, some meditation, some davening. When we discussed the dynamics of meditative prayer, we noted that according to Kabbalah, The liturgy describes the ascent of the soul to its source and its subsequent descent back into created reality. In other words, the soul is going up to be reunited with Hashem. This is davening, and then coming back down into the body to bring light and goodness into the world. That's, I think, a good definition of davening, right? Something simple, the soul going up, the soul coming down. Yes, it's good to keep that in mind. Descent back into reality, to sweeten reality. We should be inspired by our davening and come back down and sweeten reality. In the larger context of all 9 sub-stages, we may view all the stages preceding meditative prayer as techniques that help us up and out of our problems, and all those that follow it as techniques that help us descend back into reality in order to face and rectify our problems. I mean, this is such a good definition of davening, that in the beginning, like, I have to think about the words of the davening. I have to think about Hashem. It means I have to step up and out of our problems. Like, they'll don't worry, we can forget about them for 10 minutes. It's okay. They'll still be waiting for us. But this is what we have to do in davening. I think this is such a good definition. People should learn this right from the beginning when learning davening. And then those following it, the part of the davening helps us come back to reality, to face and rectify our problems. Meditative prayer thus becomes the apex of the ascent and descent that describes the arc of the entire therapeutic process. So meditative prayer, the apex, that means, in an arc, it has an apex, the high point in the arc. And this is what we're looking for. So we'll be talking about this, more of this next time. We shall continue. So I'm going to make a mark that we actually got up to here. And I think we should definitely take a get well picture for Rabbi Yitzchak. Yitzchak Fivish Ben Brian and Malka. People was also asked if people give tzedakah today to do it for his refuah shalema. Whether you're here in Chutz La'aretz, if you're not in Israel, you're in Israel, it's a very good time to give tzedakah. That Yitzchak Fivish Ben Brian and Malka should have a refuah shalema, because we need him, right? Yes. So could a few more brave people put on their cameras with that refuah shalema expression? Come on. Oh, look at these beautiful faces. This is so much fun. I like these people. So nice of you all to join me. So I'm not all, oh, look, it's the Schurs. Mayor, you want to come be in the picture? You can see some friends here, like Moshe Schur. There's Olivia waving. Right, and my old friend Miriam Rhodes from 7th grade. There he is.
Nice.
Okay, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, get ready. 1, 2, 3. Yes, look at that. Isn't this fun? So wonderful, wonderful, really. It's so nice. It's so strengthening. I'm so happy we had a chance to learn this together and be together and wish each other a good Chodesh, a Chodesh Tov. So, Eretz Hashem, we should all be alive and well and healthy, and we'll continue next week. Mwah. Love you all. Wonderful to see you. Bye, bye, bye.